The Atlanta rap world just got rocked to its core. The streets are buzzing after word got out that Young Thug, the same man who built his whole image on being the hardest gangster in the game, was caught chopping it up with the feds. Can you believe it? The one who used to clown everybody else for snitching is now being labeled as a snitch himself. And the receipts? Oh, they're out there. An audio recording from his interrogation leaked online, and that's when fans realized Thug was dropping info. This wasn't some random talk either, it was tied straight to his massive RICO case. For anyone who's not up to speed, Young Thug got indicted as the alleged head of YSL. Not just his music label, but prosecutors claim it's a full-blown gang too. The charges they stacked up on him and his crew are wild. Shootings, robberies, even straight-up murders, plus drugs and weapons charges. And Thug didn't make it easier on himself, bragging in his lyrics about crimes that lined up a little too close to what was happening in real life. Fans loved the music, but prosecutors saw it as a confession on wax. It wasn't just...
You know what I mean? Simple as that. If I ain't did that to nobody and I'm being accused of a crime, why are you putting my name in a song talking about if somebody do something to you, what I'm gonna do to them? Why is you putting that song out there if I'm being investigated for a crime I got nothing to do with and the police is thinking that I'm the #1 suspect?
Thug in the hot seat either. A bunch of YSL affiliates got dragged in, and many folded under the pressure. His own brother, his artist Gunna, and others ended up taking plea deals to dodge heavy sentences. Suddenly, everybody was pointing fingers and giving statements. The so-called no snitching code crumbled fast. Even Gunna, who at first swore he had nothing to do with gang life, was stuck. Prosecutors slapped him with a RICO charge over one car stop with Thug where police found drugs and a stolen gun. The wild part? None of it even belonged to Gunna, but the system still tried to use that moment to tie him into the gang conspiracy. Gunna wasn't about to waste his life rotting in a cell for something he swore wasn't his, so he took the plea. And in exchange, he had to admit in court that YSL isn't just music, it's a gang. Now the whole city is looking sideways at Young Thug, asking the question no one thought they'd ever ask. Is the realest rapper out of Atlanta just another snitch in disguise? The internet exploded when Gunna copped that plea deal. Suddenly, everybody was calling him a snitch. Fans swore his career was finished, rappers said his name was dirt, and the loudest critic of all was none other than Young Thug himself. Thug had always made it clear he don't mess with snitches, period. So when Gunna admitted YSL was more than just a label, Thug felt stabbed in the back. And Thug didn't just keep that anger private either. Word spread fast after his jailhouse calls leaked with him straight up trashing Gunna's name. That's when the domino effect hit. Big names like Lil Baby and Lil Durk, rappers who once stood side by side with Gunna, suddenly switched sides and iced him out. The same guys who made millions with him acted like he didn't exist anymore. Now here's the crazy part. While Thug was furious, Gunna was still winning. Against all odds, he kept selling records, packing out shows, and his fan base didn't abandon him. And get this, a chunk of that money was still funneling back to Young Thug's own label. On top of that, Gunna was helping cover Thug's legal fees. Imagine that. The man everyone labeled a traitor was still paying the bills for the same crew that turned their backs on him. That's when the truth hit Gunna like a brick. These dudes didn't care about him. They wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire.
Pee Wee Roscoe, you know damn well not to mention me. Boy, you know I ain't got no sense. You remember we was at the Sky House? Me, you, and Thug was sitting in the car, and that damn transvest walked past, and Thug tapped you and said, Pee Wee, what's up with that? And you told Thug how you stuck your diggling up in it. Don't get me started, nigga.
Loyalty was one-sided, and the moment things got hot, Thug and the rest of the crew dropped him like yesterday's news. Why should Gunna sacrifice his life for people who weren't loyal to him? And here's the twist nobody expected. For all that no snitching talk, Young Thug himself wasn't exactly silent in that interrogation room. Receipts show that when detectives pressed him, the first thing out his mouth was, "Listen, I'll tell you what you need to know. Just don't let people know I'm giving you info." That's word for word what he said. Imagine the so-called boss asking cops to keep his name clean while he slipped them details, and it didn't stop there. Without his lawyer even present, Thug sat there answering questions he didn't have to. In the process, he ended up tossing Pee Wee Roscoe under the bus and even linked himself to Lil Wayne. He admitted to moving drugs to Wayne and name-dropped him when asked about Wayne's tour bus shooting. Remember back when the beef between Birdman and Lil Wayne was red hot? Thug publicly sided with Birdman. Now, years later, his own words in that room dragged all those old wounds back up. So the real question now, if Gunna's a snitch for his plea deal, what does that make Young Thug after spilling info in the interrogation room?
To come home, still talking about, oh, nigga ratted, nigga rat, nigga da-da-da-da. Bro, that's God. That ain't nothing but God biting you back in your ass, bro. Cause you probably been thankful that you just beat a life sentence in a RICO and came home and minded your business and been humble. But instead, you still coming out pushing the rat narrative, bro, and all that, this, that, and the third. Now look, he came back and brought you in the ass. He brainwashed people. Bro, if you sit down with 12,
the streets are starting to think the slime boss ain't as solid as he claims. Once the interrogation clips started making the rounds, the streets couldn't believe their ears. The same Young Thug who preached about loyalty and standing 10 toes down was sitting across from detectives, casually letting things slip. People replayed the audio over and over, zooming in on every word, and the internet lit up with accusations that the so-called king of slime might be guilty of the very thing he condemned. And here's what made it even messier. While Thug was throwing shade at Gunna for copping a plea, the paperwork on YSL kept piling higher. Almost everybody in the crew had already folded. Affiliates were dropping statements, close friends were striking deals, and one by one the dominoes fell until barely anyone was left standing strong. The same team that used to scream slat in every song was suddenly screaming yes sir in the courtroom. Even Thug's brother Unfunk shocked fans when he took his own plea deal. Social media couldn't believe it. The man who stood right next to Thug on stage was now a free man, leaving his big brother stuck with the heaviest charges.
and bust out and say these words. If y'all talking about under like Gunna ratted from saying yes ma'am, you mean to tell me this not making a nigga a rat by saying shit? They said Roscoe shot the bus up. And then a nigga like Roscoe did 10 years behind this shit. And you just got on the internet to a nigga didn't rat on you? Boy, your ass so brainwashed, it's sickening.
People started pointing out the irony. Thug put loyalty at the center of his brand, but the whole YSL empire was crumbling because no one stayed loyal. But here's the catch. Prosecutors knew exactly what they were doing. By stacking everyone with heavy RICO charges, they created panic in the crew. Some were facing decades if they didn't talk. So when one cracked, the rest followed. And every single deal made the case stronger against Thug. It was like watching a chessboard where every move backed him into a tighter corner. Meanwhile, the streets kept debating, is Gunna really a snitch, or was he just being smart? Because while Thug sat behind bars, Gunna was outperforming, living life, and stacking money. Even though industry giants like Lil Baby and Lil Durk cut ties with him, his record still topped charts. Fans argued online, how you gonna call Gunna a snitch when your own boss is in that interrogation room saying way too much? And things got nastier when bloggers started digging into old beefs. Remember the Lil Wayne tour bus shooting back in 2015? That case had been quiet for years until Thug's interrogation leaked. His offhand comments dragged Wayne's name right back into the mess, reigniting a feud.
It's a sad day in Atlanta right now. We have an old homeless dude by the name of Roscoe who has lost his Section 8 apartment due to the fact he was found guilty of dick riding in the first degree.
Everyone thought was dead. Suddenly, blogs were running headlines like Thug implicates Wayne in YSL case, and fans couldn't believe it. This wasn't just about the law anymore. It was about the streets, the culture, and reputations. For years, Thug held the crown as the wildest, most authentic rapper out of Atlanta. But now, people were side-eyeing him, saying he might have played the same game he accused Gunna of playing. And when fans start questioning your street cred, it's not just your case on the line, it's your whole legacy. So here's where the drama sits. Gunna's still cashing checks, still living free, while Thug's fighting for his name, his freedom, and his empire. And the real twist? Every leaked call, every interrogation clip, every plea deal makes it harder to tell who's the villain, who's the victim, and who's just trying to survive. By the time the interrogation clips fully leaked, the culture was split right down the middle. On one side, you had the die-hard Young Thug fans swearing up and down that he was still solid, saying the cops twisted his words. On the other, people flat out called him a hypocrite, blasting Gunna as a snitch while he was in that same hot seat talking too much himself. The whole no snitching code Atlanta built its image on? It was starting to look shaky as hell. And it wasn't just fans debating on Twitter. Rappers were picking sides too. Some chose to stay silent, not wanting their names tied to this storm. Others, though, had no problem taking shots. Rap beef started bubbling where nobody expected, with subliminals flying in verses, Instagram lives, and even at live shows. Gunna would get clowned in one city, but in the next, fans screamed his lyrics like he never left.
You never earned the #1 album. I spent $50,000 buying streams for you to be weak. Like, and Cash know the same plug, so Cash could have did the same thing. But Cash, like, let it go. Cash just, like, snap down, like, man, let it be on the way, I ain't standing shit. Snap down, like a player.
The divide was so messy, even DJs were hesitant to play certain tracks in the club, worried about sparking fights in the crowd. The labels, oh, they were sweating bullets. YSL was supposed to be one of Atlanta's strongest movements, a dynasty in the making. But with all the snitch talk, the feds breathing down their necks, and artists distancing themselves from the brand, that empire looked like it was collapsing brick by brick. Insiders whispered that other labels were quietly blackballing Gunna, while some execs saw him as a free agent opportunity since he was proving he could still sell without YSL. Imagine that, the snitch flipping his downfall into a possible business win. Meanwhile, Young Thug was stuck in limbo. On one hand, his name still carried weight. The man's a living legend in trap music, and you can't erase the influence he had on an entire generation of rappers. But every time his leaked calls or interrogation clips resurfaced, the chatter got louder. If Gunna's a snitch, what does that make Thug? And let's be real, once that type of question is in the air, it's impossible to shut down completely. The craziest part? The streets started saying the whole snitch label was a distraction anyway. They argued the real story was how the feds were tearing down Atlanta's rap scene using RICO like a wrecking ball. From YFN Lucci's case to YSL's collapse, it was clear the government was watching every lyric, every move, every flex on Instagram. Some fans said it wasn't about loyalty at all. It was about survival in a system designed to lock these rappers up and throw away the key. But loyalty, or the lack of it, still burned through the conversation. Thug's brother flipping, Gunna walking free, affiliates striking deals left and right. It left Thug looking like the last man standing in a war where everyone else waved the white flag. And while the world debated whether he was guilty of the same thing, he still sat behind bars, holding on to the slime image that made him untouchable for so long. Now the rap game is left asking one big question. If YSL really falls apart under the weight of all these plea deals, does Atlanta lose its crown as the home of the street's rawest trap music? Or will Gunna's rise and Thug's downfall mark the start of a brand new era where survival means more than silence? One thing's for sure, this saga is far from over, and every new leak only adds fuel to the fire. The beef between Young Thug and Lil Wayne went from rap competition to straight-up street drama. Rumors swirled for years that Thug sent Pee Wee Roscoe to handle Wayne's tour bus, and even though no solid proof ever tied Thug directly to the shooting, his name never left the conversation. The fact that he brought up Roscoe's name during that interrogation only made people side-eye him harder, whispering that he might have been snitching on his own man. That's a direct violation of the code Thug preached his whole career. And get this, when detectives pressed him about the incident, Thug allegedly told them he didn't want to mess up their case by saying Roscoe wasn't the shooter. That line had the streets shook. People couldn't believe it. Why would he even say that unless he was trying to protect himself? Instead of shutting the whole thing down, he let Roscoe's name dangle in the air like bait. But here's the twist. Roscoe himself came to Thug's defense later, throwing shade at other YSL members and flipping the spotlight right back on them. That move lit the fuse, and suddenly the entire YSL camp was imploding. Rollo, Mondo, Woody, names that had once stood shoulder to shoulder with Thug, jumped online blasting him, blasting Roscoe, and airing out every dirty secret they had. Paperwork started leaking left and right, fans couldn't keep up, and the drama spilled way past the courtroom and into every corner of social media. It got so bad that fans started realizing this wasn't just about the law anymore, it was about the fact that YSL was eating itself alive. Allies became enemies, loyalty crumbled overnight, and everybody was pointing fingers. The same unity that once made YSL one of Atlanta's strongest forces in music was gone, replaced by chaos, betrayal, and non-stop accusations. And the harshest part? People outside the crew had no problem joining the pile-on. Commentators and fans didn't hold back, calling Thug every name in the book. They said he was sneaky, messy, and ruthless. Not just in music, but in real life. Folks pointed to his track record, his lyrics, and the endless rumors of him being linked to violent acts, saying he wasn't just rapping for clout. He was really about that life. To them, his downfall wasn't shocking. It was karma catching up. The hypocrisy angle made things worse, too. How could Thug scream about loyalty and no snitching when he himself was caught slipping in that interrogation room, tossing names around like confetti? Fans called him a straight-up hypocrite, saying the real slime wasn't just in his music, it was in the way he played everybody around him. And then there's the personal side, like his relationship with Mariah the Scientist. Fans can't wrap their heads around it. They look at her soft, soulful vibe and wonder what she's doing tied up with someone who's neck-deep in scandals, indictments, and betrayals. People on blogs clown the pairing all the time, calling it one of the strangest mismatches in hip-hop. But hey, that's a whole saga by itself, one that deserves its own breakdown. For now, what's clear is this. The YSL empire isn't just battling the feds, they're battling themselves. And with every new leak, every exposed document, and every clapback online, the cracks are only getting deeper. As the dust settled, the YSL scandal only grew darker. With every new document, every leaked audio, and every social media rant, the situation spun further out of control. What once looked like a tight-knit family was now a battlefield where everyone was out for themselves. Rollo went online blasting Thug, saying the loyalty he preached was fake from the start. Mondo doubled down, claiming Thug played both sides whenever it benefited him. And Woody? He fanned the flames with his own accusations, pulling up receipts and calling out names that nobody expected to see tied into the case. Suddenly, YSL wasn't just fighting the feds, they were tearing each other apart in public, giving prosecutors more fuel than they ever dreamed of. Fans couldn't believe the chaos. The same crew that once screamed slime forever was now using Instagram lives and Twitter threads to drag each other through the mud. Paperwork got posted like mixtape covers, and every time someone denied snitching, another document popped up to prove otherwise. It turned into a circus of betrayal, with the world watching front row. And here's where things got even crazier. Industry insiders started whispering that Thug's own downfall wasn't just about the case, it was about karma. For years, he had a reputation of playing grimy behind the scenes. People said he stirred up beefs, crossed friends, and made ruthless moves to keep his crown. Now, with the spotlight on him, those same accusations were coming back like ghosts haunting his empire. Meanwhile, Gunna kept moving like none of it mattered. Every new show he sold out, every chart position he hit, only made the situation sting more for Thug's supporters. They saw Gunna thriving while YSL was drowning, and the comparisons lit social media on fire. How could the man everyone branded a snitch be winning while the self-proclaimed boss was stuck in chaos? And the personal side of Thug's life kept people talking too. His relationship with Mariah the Scientist became a trending topic all on its own. Blogs and fans couldn't stop asking, why would someone as soulful and talented as her tie herself to a man wrapped up in so much mess? Was it loyalty? Was it love? Or was it just the spotlight of being connected to one of rap's biggest and most controversial figures? Whatever the reason, their pairing only added fuel to the fire, making Thug look even more unpredictable. At this point, the lines between music, crime, and gossip blurred completely. The case wasn't just about Rico anymore. It was about reputations, loyalty, and survival in a game where trust clearly didn't exist. And as more insiders stepped forward with their own stories, the question hanging over everyone's head was simple but brutal. If Thug couldn't even keep his closest circle loyal, how could he ever rebuild YSL from this wreckage? One thing's certain, the drama wasn't slowing down. If anything, it was only getting louder, nastier, and more public. The fall of YSL wasn't just playing out in the courtroom, it was unfolding on every phone screen across the world, and everybody had a front row seat. At this point, you gotta wonder if young Thug has Mariah the Scientist under some kind of spell. Because no matter how deep the chaos gets, she's still standing by his side. Fans can't wrap their heads around it, and the streets are clowning her for it too. At one of her shows, somebody even held up a sign that read, "Tell Thug he's a rat." The clip went viral instantly, and just like that, Mariah became part of the drama she never asked for. But then came the leaked phone call between young Thug and 21 Savage. And that right there was the nail in the coffin. Nobody knows who pushed it out. Some say Gunna's camp wanted to expose Thug, others claim the DA dropped it on purpose. But either way, it made Thug look completely unhinged. On that call, Thug exposed way more than he should have. He admitted that he bought streams for Gunna's DS4 Ever album just so Gunna could beat The Weeknd's first week sales. Fans were floored. The same Thug who prided himself on being real was out here manipulating numbers behind the scenes, and he didn't stop there. He accused Cash XO, The Weeknd's label head, of inflating numbers too. Imagine the nerve, throwing one of the world's biggest superstars under the bus while your own empire is collapsing. Now 21 Savage, he handled the call differently. He wasn't reckless. He tried to be logical. He defended Thug but refused to outright slam Gunna, and he even checked Lil Baby and Lil Durk, saying they were just clout chasing when they cut Gunna off. That move showed 21 wasn't letting anyone dictate his loyalty. He was gonna call it like he saw it. But Thug? He couldn't stop himself from throwing shade. He praised Lil Baby, called him solid, but then turned right around and blasted him for doing business with P from Quality Control. He went so far as to call P a rat, even though P was the same man who helped make Lil Baby the megastar he is today. And then Thug aimed at Gucci Mane too, saying he got soft after prison for working with P again. Can you believe that? Thug calling Gucci soft when he's the one caught snitching in his own interrogation. Of course, P wasn't letting that slide. He clapped back, saying loud and clear, "I'm not a street dude, I'm a businessman." He reminded everyone that he pays taxes, runs a label, and shouldn't be judged by street rules, and then he flipped the script completely all, exposing Thug's hypocrisy for daring to call anyone a rat when he was out here spilling in that interrogation room. But here's the real kicker. P himself was exposed too. Fans were shocked when he sold Quality Control to Scooter Braun for over $300 million, reportedly without even telling Lil Baby beforehand. Insiders claim the deal included some of Baby's music rights, and if that's true, it's one of the shadiest moves in recent rap business history. Imagine waking up to find out your music catalog got sold without your blessing. And that's where the story sits today. With Atlanta's rap scene looking like a scorched battlefield, the YSL empire is in shambles, Gunna is still thriving, Thug's legacy is hanging by a thread, and the so-called loyalty code that built Atlanta's dominance has been shattered for the whole world to see. This isn't just a scandal anymore, it's a warning. It shows how fast an empire can crumble when trust, loyalty, and power collide in the rap game. Atlanta once stood untouchable, but after this, the throne looks shaky, and the next king might not even come from the city at all. And that's why this story is far from over. More leaks, more drama, and more betrayals are guaranteed to shake the culture again. If you're rocking with the breakdown, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this video everywhere, because here we bring you the rawest, most unfiltered stories in the game. And you already know the next one is gonna be even crazier. See you in the next video.